What's going on, guys? Kigerr here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Lycoris, the new fairy added to Legends of Neverland. How good is she? What she goes with? How to best use her? Let's get into it. Alright guys, first we're going to look at Lycoris's banner, and it's 2.5% to get Lycoris, which is actually kind of high because most of these types of banners in this game as well as others is normally 4%, but it's spread over multiple things. So it's normally 1.1% or 0.75, 0.87, ranges like that. So 2.5 on her herself is actually kind of high compared to other things going on. So let's say you pull and pull and pull on her and you don't get her. Well, you have the guaranteed 6-star from doing several pulls, as well as if we go to events, limited time, time link right here. If you do enough, then you get 60 fragments of her, which is an unlock. You also get all this freebie stuff, which will give you more pulls, which will help you get down to it, as well as these boxes are very great. They help you advance your fairies. Now let's talk about actual Lycoris. So if we check out Lycoris, you can see she's control DPS. Now she's our second holy fairy, and what does that mean for us? So if we look at my formation, you will see I have wind and holy activated as my echoes, right? But if you look closely at holy down here, the purple, you'll see it says level 2, and that's because there's 2 holy deployed. If I take off Lycoris, it'll go down to level 1. With all holy, you need holy and something else to get the holy effect. But if we have 2 holy, then it becomes a holy level 2, which does give us roughly 2 times all the stats. If we look 10%, 12%, 8%, 12%, level 1 is 6, 6, 4, 8. So it's not exactly double, but like 1.7, 1.8, somewhere in that range. And it's going to give you a huge boost in your damage and potential, especially also block ignore, which isn't a stat you can really get anywhere, as well as bonus damage to monsters, which will help you empath the sword, and several other excruciating game modes, including guild boss. Now let's talk about her herself. So her stats are her HP, attack, and defense. Her HP is pretty high compared to others. Her attack is kind of middle of the pack, and defense is a little bit lower than you would expect. As far as special attributes, she's kind of all over the place. Not really sure where she wants to be. You have attack, break, tenacity, and crit, which is a little bit of everything. But if we look at something like Primrose, you can see she's very, very defensive. 3 of the 4 are defensive stats with that random crit kind of thrown in there, whereas Lycoris is kind of all over with those. But what's really going to push her over the top is, one, obviously, the Holy Flower Echo, but as well as her passive effect and her activating effect. So her passive right here, she follows you around and does AoE damage with really good damage scaling. If we look at some of the others, AoE damage and 2/3 of Lycoris's damage. Lycoris's damage will also be heightened by 12% against monsters because of that holy bonus. And just keep looking. AoE based off your attack. A lot of these basics are pretty much the same, but Lycoris has a pretty high percentage just off the rip. Not even just what mine is at with the red stars and whatnot, but just on base is a little bit higher than some of the others. Now her active is what's really going to push her over the top here. Generates fines, dealing damage equal to these. That's actually a low percentage in number, and that's because it happens 6 times. Across all the other abilities, it's like 3 or 4 times for this number. So Lycoris has an additional 2 times of this to be more damage than a lot of other abilities. Also stuns the target for 4 seconds. Let's check it out in action. So here I am around these boars, and what's nice about her is she picks the nearest target. You don't have to target anything. You just click the button, she summons, and then jumps to the target, doing the whip lines around in a circle. That does AoE damage and pulls them in and does the stun effect. I think her ability is super powerful. It has one of the highest damages that we have, period, the end, minus something like, where's she at? Minus something like, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name, Enrinatheria, who has execute damage. Minus something like that, she has one of the highest damages in the game, as well as a stun to go with her. So what goes with Lycoris? I obviously believe that you should have Twin Lotus to go with her. Twin Lotus also does AoE damage, which will go really nicely with Lycoris, as well as giving you an attack speed bonus and a bonus to all monsters which can't speed reductions. So I believe Twin Lotus naturally, because of that echo effect, is really good, as well as the activation is also really good. What other things go with her, I believe, is something like Balloon Flower is really, really good with her, because if you look at her active, it pulls them in, dealing a good amount of damage per second. So she also does pretty high damage in that AoE, and it's also 6 seconds. So you throw down a Balloon Flower, and then you throw down a Lycoris. So it makes it harder for, even in PvP, for someone to get out of that Lycoris, because Balloon Flower will be pulling them in, and then Lycoris stuns them up, making them take the full damage from Balloon Flower and Lycoris. Balloon Flower also reduces their defense by 20%, making all of their damage hit harder. Balloon Flower is a really, really good effect, but usually misses out because it puts down a whirlwind and it has to hit 3 to 4 hits to really make up that damage. Lycoris will go in tandem to help that happen. And if you're going to go wind, then you're going to want Camellia. Camellia doesn't do anything explosive or really that great. She just does bam, here's damage, which is fine. It's actually kind of a quick animation, which I'm cool with. But if you want to have more options of what to do, you have Primrose, which also does another stun. You can have stun, and then Lycoris's stun kind of tracks really well. So if you hit Lycoris, she'll summon by you, and then summon the thing near the nearest target after the animation, which stuns them, which sets up for Primrose, which actually has kind of a long animation to land the stun. So you can go stun into stun, and there's no diminishing returns with stun in this game. So you can just have that full 8 seconds of them not being able to move. And then you can even have, because Lycoris does high damage, you can have Anathria do that execute type of damage, as well as weaken them so they can't heal, allowing you, if you're a big burst class, to really capitalize on that. So I think Lycoris is a very, very good fairy, and is going to score high up in both PvP and PvE for most game modes. I will be doing a tier list for fairies coming soon. Watch out for that. Let me know in the comment section down below how you did on Lycoris, and if you want to use her yourself. Till next time, guys.